Good evening, everyone. Just want to say thank you first off for having me. My name is James Harper. Today I'm going to talk to you about testing in public schools. So is it too much? I want to say yes, that it is. Some of the things that I'm going to go over today have to do with the standardized testing and how much it's being utilized in public schools. So first, problems with over testing. So it's shrinking the curriculum. A lot of teachers are having to shorten their curriculum in order to get to all the testing that they have to do. So it could be a few weeks, it could be a couple of days, but the curriculum has been shrinking to take into account the standardized testing preparation. Um, Back in my previous school, we had spent a week previously in preparing for the SBAC testing. So it took away basically a week of my curriculum. And I know that goes for a lot of the teachers out there. So the next one is teaching to the test. So are students really learning? What are the students really learning when you're teaching them exactly what the test is? You're teaching them exactly what to do to get an A. When really the students aren't even receiving a grade on it. All they're doing is doing testing for the state. So what are we really doing? We're teaching the students to take a test, and they get 100%. There's no gratitude for them. There's nothing that they get in return. So teaching to the test, it really doesn't make sense. Teachers lose interest in teaching. So you'll find a lot of good teachers out there who had the freedom in previous years, who had the freedom to do as they wanted and teach whatever was in their scope of the curriculum, but at their own pace. Now it's a preset plan on what teachers have to teach, when to teach it by, all that stuff. So teachers are losing interest in teaching just because it's not an art form anymore. It's very black and white. This is what the students need to learn. This is what you're going to teach them. This is how you're going to teach them. So testing is really weeding out a lot of the good teachers who find their creative spirit in teaching. The next one, students dropping out of school. So students are dropping out for many reasons. A lot of it is test taking. There's many students out there that just do not enjoy taking tests. Some of the students I know for myself, I wasn't the best test taker, and it really put a damper on my views of school and education. Ultimately, I got better at it. It became easier for me, so I found a little bit more confidence in it. But there's a lot of children out there who are not very good test takers, and they find frustration. They lack confidence, so they don't come to school anymore. They figure, why am I going to show up to school to fail every day when I can be at home doing something that I really enjoy, which most of the time doesn't involve taking tests. So those are some of the problems with over testing right now. Here's a few examples I'm going to go over. So the first example here on the left is students who met or exceeded math standards. So this is based on Los Angeles Unified School District compared to California as a whole. So as you see, the California as a whole, the last year of old tests, the testing scores were high. They were very, very high. They skyrocketed. As you can see, the new testing, which is a lot tougher, their testing scores went way, way down. So I'm thinking, as teachers nowadays, they're seeing that these test scores are going down, so administration is pushing teachers to teach towards the test, so they don't look down upon as being a bad teacher because their students aren't learning. So I think a lot of it is teachers are feeling pressure to teach to the test in order to get good scores. And a lot of state funding comes with those scores. So the better the scores you get for your school, the more money you ultimately get from state, federal government programs. The middle one is assessments. So these are assessments that would be suspended during the 2013-14 school year. So this is a little bit dated. This is going back to before the Common Core. So these are all the assessments here that are being administered to students. If you look through them, it's a laundry list full of assessments. The students are being graded, assessed constantly through state testing, standardized testing. So if you just look through it from grade 2 all the way up to junior in high school, you're being tested, standardized test, pen to pencil, or nowadays it's computerized. So you go and you stare at a screen for a few hours and you take a test. I remember taking tests when I was in school and going through college. Taking them online, it's like you spend a couple of hours staring at the screen, and your eyes start getting a little bit blurry. You start kind of losing focus. So I can only imagine how a second grader or a third through sixth grade student would react to staring at a screen for hours taking tests. So, okay, the next one. So teaching to the test. This is a little survey. As you see, it says survey research in California seems to show that educators don't believe that the rules concerning inappropriate testing practices should apply to them. So this is saying that the teachers are teaching to the test. Basically, they're teaching to get the students good test scores, basically, not to learn, but to get good test scores. The next one is just a little picture that I added in. This is not what we should be doing at teaching our students. As I see, you did well, but what real world skills do you have? Well, tests. I can take tests. So we're teaching students to simply take tests, not learn anything, but bubble in circles and take tests, not really gaining any knowledge on the subject matter. So this is not what we're trying to do as educators. Okay, this was taken from an article on EdWeek. The article is titled "Students Take Too Many Redundant Tests, Study Finds Review of 66 Urban Districts Gauge Scope of Practice." So this was based on 66 urban districts, a study. And the study found, for instance, that 8th grade students in urban districts spent an average of 4.22 school days taking mandatory tests last school year. That's the most among any grade level. That's not counting the optional tests that are given periodically by teachers. As a result of mandated tests, were often returned to districts months later, reducing the usefulness of class instruction. So you don't get instant feedback from these tests. They come back months later, and the students don't even see what their scores were. There's nothing to go over. There's nothing to correct. They don't know what they miss. So it's almost useless for classroom instruction. So basically, all it is for state use to get a gauge on where the students are at. It's an interesting concept, really. A lot of it is it's almost to gauge how well the teachers are teaching, but at the same time, teachers are telling their students that this isn't a grade for their class, it's simply a test for the state. So the kids or the students are going to take it less seriously if they know that it's not going to be a grade for their class. So it's kind of a perpetuating cycle. My solution is standardized testing is important for gathering data, but must be done in moderate doses or through other means of assessment. So yes, we should take standardized tests. Yes, they are important to gather data, but they're good in moderation. So we can't continue to keep pounding standardized testing in the students' brains, trying to turn them into zombies. It's important to do other means of assessment. So create a stress-free environment that allows students to maximize their full test-taking potential. I'm a big fan of the outdoors, so having students take tests outside where they in a a stress-free environment, not somewhere locked away inside of a gym or inside of a computer lab trying to take a test staring at a screen, but a stress-free environment. Encourage teachers to not teach to the test, but to teach them in a way that is engaging. This is difficult for teachers because they're being forced to teach to the test based on wanting to receive good feedback for being, educating the students, when really it's really not like that at all. We need to get back to teachers teaching in a way that is engaging for students. Develop project-based assessments that promote student creativity while reducing the stress and anxiety of formal standardized testing. The big reason students are failing at tests is because they're anxious. It's an anxious test to take. They know that if they fail it, then they feel like they're not going to pass the grade or they're not going to make it to the next level. So it's an anxiety. Complete the mandatory minimum state required tests. So whatever the minimum amount of state required tests are is what should be done. Whether that's 3 tests, you have a pre-assessment, a benchmark, and a post-assessment. Whatever that minimum state required test is, that's what schools should start using. Who will be a part of this solution? Teachers, administrators, parents, students. Teachers need to find the passion, but should have the tools in order to succeed. Administrators need to think outside the box by cutting down the amount of testing. Parents will see their children learning more at home, more than they would from being taught to a specific test. So the parents will see firsthand the attitude that their students will have when they get home. Students will enjoy learning and will not simply be memorizing the material in order to pass a test. So they'll actually be learning stuff rather than just memorizing. I remember going through high school. When I was in high school, a lot of it was just memorizing stuff to get by. And only the important stuff is what I learned. It was hands-on. It was hands-on. It wasn't drilled into my head. It was something that we did hands-on. It was an activity with, and it stuck with me. But memorizing, pounding something inside somebody's head is not going to help them learn. We'll evaluate our plan with minimizing the test being taken. We observe student attitude and morale in the classroom. We'll send out student and parent surveys asking their input on the new changes. Parent input will also be important in determining student successes at home, not just in the classroom. So are they succeeding in everything else at home? Whether that's getting their chores done, if they're playing any sports, they're doing their homework more. Parents can be the judge of that when they're at home, not just, they obviously can't be in the classroom. So us as teachers, administrators, would have to see the classroom. Semester or trimester feedback from teachers and staff to get their take on the new changes and if they feel it's working for them and their students. So whether that's positive feedback, negative feedback, whatever changes need to be made, you work together as a team and work through those things. Okay, so it's time to make education and learning fun. For the longest time, education has had this dark cloud above it, and it hasn't been fun. Students falling asleep in class, they don't want to learn, nothing is engaging. It's boring. The students call it boring. So it's time to take the standardized testing and things of that nature out and start making things fun, make learning fun again, so the students enjoy coming to school every day and want to learn new things every day. And that's all. Thank you. Thank you for your time.